I'm going to be politically incorrect. People keep saying how important it is that everyone vote, especially you young people, that voting's your civic duty. But maybe some of you shouldn't vote.
If you don't vote, you're a moron.
Let's go voting.
Lately, there's been a big push to get young people to vote.
Go register to vote if you're 18 years old.
At some rock concerts, between songs, musicians say things like,
"Please participate this year by casting your vote."
Mark Brownstein, bassist for a band called the Disco Biscuits, and his friend Andy Bernstein co-founded Headcount, a group that registers young people.
If you know either your driver's license number or the last four digits of your social is what you're going to need to know.
We've registered over 100,000 people. It is so imperative that this generation's voice is heard, and they are being heard.
Yeah!
But wait a sec. Are all these get-out-the-vote drives entirely a good thing? What about Puff Daddy's Vote or Die campaign?
Vote or die, baby.
Puff Daddy?
Your friend Kyle told me you don't understand the importance of voting.
South Park made fun of it.
Vote or die, mother, vote or die.
You can't run from a 38, go ahead and drive.
Let your opinion be heard. You gotta make a choice.
Vote or die.
South Park's creators were criticized for this, but I think they have a point.
Okay, I'll vote.
After all, some kids don't know much. At that concert, we asked some newly registered voters some basic questions. Some were knowledgeable.
There are 2 senators from each state, making a total of 100.
The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution.
But most were not.
There's 51 states in the U.S. 52?
How many senators are there?
Going with 16.
I have no idea. 64, I think, something like that.
50 per state. 5 per state. 7.
Oh no. I want to say 12. Am I so wrong?
And what is Roe v. Wade?
Roe versus Wade's segregation, maybe?
Was Roe versus Wade where we declared bankruptcy?
No, that was about a black person and a white person.
Most kids we asked didn't know.
Roe versus Wade?
Isn't knowledge important to voting?
There's a lot of uninformed voters out there.
So maybe they shouldn't vote.
It's an argument that really, really smacks against everything we hold dear as Americans.
Democracy is not about taking the most educated portion of the society and having them decide.
But maybe it's their civic duty not to vote because they don't know anything.
We don't believe it's their civic duty not to vote. We're out there telling them that it is their civic duty to vote.
Maybe it's not fair to pick on kids at a rock concert. Let's go to our nation's capital. Certainly people here will know more, won't they? I showed them some pictures. Everyone knew Obama and McCain. Maybe half the people knew who this was.
Tina Fey. Just kidding. It's Governor Palin.
But Joe Biden?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Finally.
Joe Biden.
You're the first person to do that. That's pretty amazing around
The new Joe Biden?
Right.
You're totally pulling my leg.
She and a few others got all the answers right.
Who's that?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
But they were the exceptions. Few people recognized Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg.
Oh.
But this judge?
Oh, Judge Judy.
Maybe 75% of people can name the vice president. The public's knowledge of politics is shockingly low.
Economist Brian Kaplan argues in his book, The Myth of the Rational Voter, that people who know little about our government ought to stay home on Election Day.
We always hear it's our civic duty to vote.
This is very much like saying it's our civic duty to give surgery advice. Now, we like to think that political issues are much less complicated than brain surgery, but many of them are pretty hard. If someone doesn't know what he's talking about, it really is better if they say, look, I'm just going to leave this in wiser hands.
It's so elitist to say only some people should vote.
Is it elitist to say only some people should do brain surgery? Bottom line is, if you don't know what you're doing, you are not doing the country a favor by voting.
Voting is serious business.
If you care about being heard,
please vote. Instead of rock the vote, maybe they should say rock or vote.
I'm really starting to doubt myself a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't vote.
Good for her. Democracy works best when people educate themselves. So I'm relieved if people like her stay home on Election Day. But will she?
No, that was a lie. Of course I'm going to vote.
Oh, well, at least there's time before the next election. Maybe she'll be up to speed by then.
When politicians run for office, they make promises. They promise they'll make your life better. Many voters believe, some talk about their candidate as if he'll perform magic.
It's time for us to change America.
Fight for what's right for our country.
Do you believe in magic?
Watching the campaigns, it's clear some people are ecstatic.
I just thought Barack Obama. He's like my rock star.
Things will get done in Washington.
Kids and our grandkids will have a better life.
Tell you about the magic and the free your soul.
Up with Obama! Biden! Wake up, America!
Boy, it sounds so exciting. The politicians are going to fix America. They're going to give us great free health care, fix the education system, lower gas prices, keep us safe.
We actually think that some people can do magic.
David Bose is Executive Vice President of the Libertarian Cato Institute.
Voters would have to believe that every politician is some sort of combination of Superman, Santa Claus, and Mother Teresa. Superman because he can do anything.
I will keep taxes low.
I will cut taxes
to balance the federal budget.
We will guarantee health care for anyone who needs it.
Where did I put universal pre-K?
Santa Claus because he's going to give us things.
Ah, there it is.
In this campaign ad, Senator Clinton even compared herself to Santa.
It's like we believe that when one man is chosen to be president, suddenly he rises above all the rest of us. And why are we continually disappointed in presidents? Because they couldn't possibly live up to the powers and the faith that we're investing in them.
Take the promise of energy independence. Every president since Nixon said he would end
this intolerable excessive dependence on foreign energy sources.
They promise
and bring us closer to energy
independence for our country by 1980.
By 1985.
In 10 years.
By the year 2025.
But today, America is no closer to independence than we were when...
Well, I'm not a crook.
Nixon was president.
I promise you.
Politicians tell us what we want to hear, and we do want to believe.
It's kind of an instinctive reaction. Government should do more on health care. Government should do more for children. But a president can't fix all the problems in your life.
God bless you! God bless America!
It's like that movie Dave, where the president is a bad, selfish man who's then replaced by a look-alike who's good.
The good guy replaces the bad president, and he just calls in an accountant, and they sit down and balance the budget and get everybody a job.
I forgot that I was hired to do a job for you.
If the president were a good man, he'd get everybody a job. I saw it in the movie.
Create more and better jobs
that pay well and can't be outsourced.
But presidents don't create jobs. Entrepreneurs do, often without any government involvement, without politicians ordering anyone about. In fact, most of life works best when you are in charge. Here's a thought experiment. Consider a skating rink.
Imagine telling someone who'd never been to a skating rink that you were going to let people strap blades to their feet and then let all of them, old people, young people, good skaters, bad skaters, speed around a rink. They'd say, no, you can't do that. It would be a catastrophe. You need to plan this. You need to direct them. Be careful.
I better do that.
Slow down over there. Turn right. Turn left. No backward skating.
Something's wrong. It's not working. More people are falling.
You, speed up. You, slow down. Somebody pick that person up.
Maybe I'm just not a very good president. I mean, skating director. What if we elect someone better, someone more qualified, who knows more, like an Olympic gold medalist? What would Brian Boitano do?
You, don't hold hands. Increase your speed twice as fast as you're going.
Even the Olympian, with his vastly greater knowledge, can't make the skating better by being a boss.
You in the black right there. Please move to the outer edge along the rail.
Nobody was listening to him.
I know, nobody was listening because they don't want to. I mean, they want to do their own thing.
Yeah, it kind of ruins the fun of it. Like, people bossing you around. I don't want to do it then if someone's telling me what to do.
It's not going to be fun. What's the point of coming in?
Kids, don't go too fast.
Much of life would be a drag if a leader directed everything. And in fact, most of our lives are self-directed. Economists call it spontaneous order. On the rink, skaters' self-interests coincide. They want to be free, but not crash. We see spontaneous order in nature. Schools of fish moving together, an ant colony, a flock of birds.
The flock of starlings is self-organized. There's no leader. There's no communication. The Blue Angels can do pre-choreographed stuff, but they couldn't chase a plane with the precision that a flock of birds can do it.
Economist Russ Roberts points out that spontaneous order, not government, guides most of life. We just don't think about it.
We don't notice that there are many, many things in our life that work beautifully and smoothly as if they were organized, but without an organizer.
Government sets some rules, but the buying and selling, the designing and inventing, creating, building, dancing are done by people who, every second, make their own decisions. It's the spontaneous order.
A lot of aspects of our life are like that. We take them for granted.
Just as we take a skating rink for granted.
Some people would say the skating rink works because it's small. But when it's a big place like America, you need planning.
The more complex the problem, the more planning you need. But it's not planning at the top. It's planning from the bottom up.
That's how we got language.
기쁨의 겨워. Gentili telespettatori, buongiorno.
It's varied and useful and beautiful.
Au cœur de la crise, un document réalisé.
But people once said we need a better universal language, Esperanto. William Shatner then made this movie in Esperanto. But centrally planned language died as quickly as the movie. Communism lasted longer, but its central planning doomed it because planners never could anticipate the myriad wants of different people. There were constant shortages. Soviets waited in line an average 2 hours every day. Sometimes there were riots. And yet, during an American election season, the political class acts like they have to direct life. And when there are problems, it must be the politicians who solve them.
Barack Obama can give us back our freedom, our trust.
And John McCain will even make kids lose weight.
If you want to fight childhood obesity, then John is your man.
During presidential elections, billions are spent by people trying to win. That's why politicians say we need campaign finance reform to regulate all that money. Well, we've got it. So how's that working out?
Senator John McCain says he's a problem solver.
I've fought to get million-dollar checks out of our elections.
He's proud of McCain-Feingold.
And the bill is passed.
The law which promised to curb the influence of big money on politics.
The problem can be cured to a large degree by the provisions in this bill.
Before McCain-Feingold, 98% of congressional incumbents were being reelected. With money playing a lesser role, said McCain, challengers will have a better chance.
Stand up and fight.
People like the idea of campaign finance reform. But campaign finance laws, like all of government's laws, are subject to a still more powerful law, the law of unintended consequences.
How are you? I'm Dr. Ada Fisher.
In the last couple elections, Ada Fisher, a retired doctor, ran for Congress in North Carolina.
Time to get a doctor in the house. Vote for me.
She ran on a shoestring, campaigning out of her own car.
Let me give you a card here.
Making her own signs and buttons. For staff, she relied exclusively on volunteers.
We didn't have any money to pay anybody.
A recent college graduate volunteered to be her campaign treasurer. It was supposed to be fun, educational. But then they came up against campaign finance laws.
This big book is the FEC rules. The book is close to 500 pages of small print double columns.
That's typical of Washington's rules. And just how long is 500 pages of federal fine print? Let's find out. We taped them together. And here we are at Giant Stadium. How far will it go?
It spanned the whole field and halfway back. No wonder Fisher and her young treasurer had trouble wrestling with all that legalese and filed some reports late.
We get a notice we're being fined for failure to file.
Nearly $10,000.
They then decide that they want to hold a candidate and the treasurer personally liable.
That's a great way to get volunteers out. Tell them if they fail to file a form on time, they're personally liable for fines and penalties. And it's just a classic example of the way in which the law benefits insiders.
Brad Smith knows all about cases like Fisher's. He was chairman of the Federal Election Commission when it first fined Fisher. And yet...
You know, he hates campaign finance reform. Bradley Smith does.
Smith does. The ex-chairman of the commission thinks campaign finance reform is a disaster.
What we've done is we've created a system in which it's harder and harder to engage in real grassroots activity. That's what these laws are in the real life practice.
Thank you.
Senator McCain wouldn't talk to us about campaign finance, so I talked to these people whose organizations support campaign finance laws. Her group was once headed by McCain, and the McCain campaign's lawyer founded his.
We have areas of law that are complex.
No kidding, says Becky Cornwell.
I have not really understood what I've been doing, which makes me sound stupid, but I'm not.
All she did was oppose a ballot measure, which would have allowed a Denver, Colorado suburb to annex her little town. She and some neighbors printed signs and T-shirts and gathered signatures for a petition.
I just volunteered to walk around and talk to neighbors.
But today's campaign finance laws go well beyond national elections. Now state laws cover things like local ballot measures. And under Colorado's rules, the fact that Becky's group exercised their free speech was enough for their political opponents to slap them with a lawsuit because they didn't register as an issue committee and report all their expenses.
The lawsuit was used in an effort to shut us up about the annexation. They wanted to scare us enough and clobber us with these laws so that we wouldn't talk about it anymore.
That's the problem. Campaign finance rules have become a tool that insiders use to silence their opponents. These people are printing T-shirts and yard signs, and they're in trouble?
That law was passed by the voters of the state of Colorado, so I think it, to some degree, reflects voter sentiment.
They're paying more on legal fees than they paid on the campaign.
Well, and I think that it's great that they're trying to express their views, but there are rules on the books. It's very simple. You go on their websites and check it out.
It's very simple?
It's pretty simple.
Would you fill it out?
Sure.
Here's that simple form.
Excellent.
You have a pen?
But this is the instruction manual. This is really good. I'm happy to see that the state of Colorado is doing this much to help people understand and comply with their campaign finance laws.
Can we tape you doing it now?
I have plans for the evening. I'm late, I think.
None of them would complete all the forms that day.
Because it's a setup.
Washington lawyer Paul Ryan did send in the properly filled out forms a week later.
I do this stuff for a living, though. I don't know if I'm an appropriate sample.
This economics professor runs tests with a better sample.
This is going to be a role-playing exercise.
He has educated people try to fill out forms like Colorado's.
I wasn't trying to throw any curveballs here, but just to see if people can follow the instructions.
2020 paid each of these people $20 to give it a try, and $20 more if they completed the forms correctly. The result?
No one got them all right.
Before this group, he tested another 200 people. Every one violated the law.
A regular citizen cannot breach this legalese.
I'd rather just not get involved in the political process if I have to go through the nonsense that I had to go through today.
That's how Becky and her neighbors feel, even though they won their anti-annexation fight.
It'd be very difficult to throw yourself in front of that bus again.
Did the campaign finance bus at least flatten the fat cats too? No. Barack Obama backed out of public financing so he could keep attending $20,000 a plate fundraisers. John McCain himself has skirted his own donation limits. And the big money that was banned by McCain-Feingold and this ream of rules, well, it's still in the game. Instead of going to candidates or parties, now it goes to outside groups, which bankroll attack ads like these.
Will Obama really raise taxes on tens of thousands of middle-class workers?
Yes, we can!
As Alaska governor, Palin promotes the vicious aerial killing of wolves.
Even the reformers admit McCain's reforms didn't stop big money.
It's like squeezing a balloon. You just squeeze down somewhere and it pops up somewhere else.
So then why do we need these rules?
It addressed a specific problem, and then you get new problems.
You can't take money out of politics. As long as you've got $3 trillion being taxed and spent by the federal government, people are going to want to get control of that.
Did reform at least make elections more competitive? No again. Just as many congressional incumbents are being reelected now as were during the Watergate era. The Ada Fishers of the world, she lost both times she ran for Congress. They've learned that challenging the political class is hard to do.
I'm running for North Carolina House. The system is rigged for incumbents and against challengers because incumbents already know the game. They have gamed the game to win. So you hate to put it bluntly, but you're screwed.
Every year, politicians warn if we want to guarantee America's food supply, we have to save the family farm. And to do that, they want your money.
Lawmakers in Washington have passed a new farm bill.
In 2008, Congress passed another $300 billion farm bill.
We cannot turn back, not with an economy to fix and farms to save.
Saving farms is what politicians promise that farm supports will do.
Now, how old is this cat?
It's a reason they do photo ops like this one. The president wouldn't talk to us about the farm bill. We contacted 69 members of Congress who voted for it, but couldn't get any of them to talk to us until finally Randy Kuhl of New York and Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas agreed to speak.
Family farms, small farms are important.
And I don't think we want anybody in this country to starve.
People would starve?
They go out of business, then they'd be forced to move elsewhere and find different jobs.
Well, that's not starving, that's finding a different job.
But if they don't have a job, then they're going to starve.
Well, they're doing pretty well in Nebraska. Corn farmer Mike Korth gets subsidies. He'll take the money, he says, but he's against the farm bill.
It's a bad bill. In the end, if you take a bunch of money, it's like they grab the treasure chest, they open the door on it, and whoever can get the most out of it, you just run away with it.
Nebraska farmers are running away with a lot of your money. Home prices may have been falling in most of America, but farmland prices have been rising. Here they've shot up 77% in 4 years. Farm subsidies rarely go to poor people. The average farmer makes twice what the average American earns. Yet Nebraska politicians want more.
We need to get farmers a better safety net here.
If you're a politician from Nebraska and you want to get elected, Republican or Democrat, the way to do that is to say, I support farm subsidies.
Yes, that's a very important thing to our farmer is subsidies. It would lose dramatic population if the subsidies weren't there at all.
But despite the billions spent on subsidies, farm towns are smaller than ever. In Mike Korth's town, store after store is boarded up.
It's pretty sad. The school at one time had just short of 1,000 kids in it, and now we don't have 300.
It hasn't kept these small towns alive.
Well, I think it has. I'm from a small town of 72 people. I am, and I'm going to tell you, farm subsidies have helped that town.
After this interview, we researched his town. It was twice as big during the Depression. Population has dropped steadily ever since.
But this isn't working.
Well, I think it
We're
is.
all paying more. You guys are on welfare. It's not working.
Actually, I disagree with that because I think it is working.
Actually, a government study found that the more farm aid a county got, the more likely it was to lose population. Why would that be? Because subsidies make it harder for smaller farmers to compete. Economist Walter Williams.
The farm subsidies go to very, very wealthy farmers, not the ma and pa farm. It's these huge agribusinesses that get the big subsidies.
Farmers like Maurice Wilder. He's been America's single biggest recipient of farm subsidies. He wouldn't let us take a picture of his jet, but here he is at one of his many homes. Wilder's estimated to be worth $500 million. But he still gets your help making ends meet.
Where is a limit where you say, you know what, you're big enough now, you can put your pants on by yourself?
How do rich farmers legally get subsidies? The Farm Bill does say
no payments to farmers who make more than $1.25 million a year.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you, any one of them guys, they've got accountants that can hide that income.
When you have a farm bill this size, this stretches almost 2 football fields. There are loopholes in here somewhere for a wealthy farmer to crawl through.
I don't blame anybody from taking it when it's there and available.
You're getting a handout.
Well, they're getting, in a sense, it is a handout.
This is not a handout, take it, and if you lose it, fine, walk away. Not at all.
It's not?
No, it's not.
Why isn't that a handout?
I don't term it a handout, I term it an investment.
But that's your money he's investing. And why? We don't need farm subsidies to have an ample food supply. I bet you didn't know that the growers of most crops don't get subsidies.
Growers of apples, bananas, broccoli, cabbage, cantaloupe, carrots, cauliflower, grapes, lemons, limes, lettuce, and dozens of other crops get no subsidies.
There's no cabbage crisis or pineapple panic. And yet, because big crops get subsidies like rice and corn, food costs more.
I'm not used to paying these prices.
Another reason prices are high is that farmers get paid for not farming.
Beautiful.
government payment on it, about $26,000.
More than $20,000 a year for not farming his land. Real estate agents even used farm payments to sell homes to non-farmers. Agents didn't want to say that on television, so our producer posed as a home buyer and brought along a video camera.
Do you have to farm it? Do you have to farm it to receive it?
No. It's like a little bonus that you don't really have to do anything to get.
All these homes get government payments, though nothing's farmed here. The owner of this home collected $7,000.
Why, it's like offered to us.
She isn't exactly sure why.
I think it's a weird setup, but there's a lot of weird setups.
This is just a crazy system. It's left over from the 1930s, left over from the Depression, and it's a great example of how nothing is as permanent as a temporary government program.
Of course, it is true that without subsidies, some bureaucrats would be out of work, and some farms would go out of business. But that's okay, say economists. It's part of the creative destruction that makes America strong.
When there's progress, certain jobs are destroyed and certain jobs are created. The guy who delivered ice to my house, he doesn't have the job because we have refrigerators. We're better off. Now, the guy who lost his job selling ice, he probably got some other job. But we would have been held back if we had tried to save his job.
But today in America, politicians are eager to spend your money to keep certain auto companies afloat.
Loan guarantees that we've already passed for our auto industry.
Certain banks in business.
We must pass legislation to address this crisis.
And to keep farms from closing.
I think we might have to get 2 or 3 of these, don't you think?
Yeah. There is one country that has abolished farm subsidies, New Zealand. There were riots and protests when they did that. Farmers said, we'll go bankrupt. People said, we'll starve. But it didn't happen. In fact, farm productivity quintupled.
Agriculture there has boomed once they got people off the dole. Instead of sucking up to you politicians, they found ways to be more efficient as farmers.
I don't have many farmers sucking up. I do have them coming in and thanking me for allowing their family farm to survive.
Clothing and shelter are important too. Why don't we subsidize them? If this works so well, why don't we just subsidize everything?
Well, I would say to you that you don't.
America has long been known as the land of opportunity. But some people now say that's no longer true, and that the middle class especially is in deep trouble.
Middle-class families are struggling.
What's left of our middle class may be on the verge of collapse.
It is definitely harder to be middle class today than it was a generation ago.
Barbara Ehrenreich's been on television a lot since she published Nickel and Dimed, her account of how it's almost impossible for an entry-level worker to make it in America.
I worked as a waitress and an aide in a nursing home and a cleaning lady and a Walmart associate, and that didn't do it. These are hard jobs, John.
If you do a good job, can't you move up?
Well, John, that's not easy. Walmart capped the maximum you can ever make.
But if you do a good job, you could be promoted to assistant manager, store manager.
Well, I suppose over time that is a possibility.
The new CEO of Walmart started out as an hourly worker. Now he's the boss.
Well, there are always exceptions. I am the daughter of an exception. My father worked his way up and he became a corporate executive. But that was like a 1 in a million situation.
Today, Aaron Rice, a hugely popular commencement speaker.
Go out there and raise hell. Thank you.
Her book is required reading in high schools and college classes. She's convinced lots of people that you cannot make it in America. Adam Shepard was assigned her book.
I read Nickel and Dimed, and I wanted to kind of make a discovery for myself on how I can see if the American dream is still alive.
So he picked a city out of a hat, Charleston, South Carolina. He showed up here with $25. How far could he get if he didn't tell anyone about his college degree?
I arrived, and right away I figured I need to get it to a homeless shelter. That's where we store all our stuff.
He lived here 2 months. Then he worked for this moving company, making $8 an hour. Soon he'd saved enough to buy a used truck.
I got it for $1,000.
And within a few months, he had an apartment.
This was my place.
In fact, within a year...
I've got $5,500, a car, I've got a furnished apartment. I mean, life is pretty great.
Adam writes about his search for the American dream in Scratch Beginnings. It's a very different book from Nickel and Dimed.
If you want to fail, go for it.
Are you saying she wanted to fail?
Absolutely, I think she wanted to fail and write the book about it. That's the whole idea. She's spending $40 on pants. She's staying in hotels. She went out to live in here for a month and here for a month, and I made sacrifices. She didn't make any sacrifices.
Why can he do it when you couldn't?
I know it's embarrassing, but
he said it looked like you were trying to fail. You lived in motels instead of getting a roommate. You bought pants for $40 instead of going to Goodwill.
Oh, I think that is so unfair. No, the $40 pants, that was a big mistake, and that was one of the mistakes I made early on. The motels, that's not a rich person option.
You could have succeeded if you'd gotten a roommate.
In time, yes, I could have gotten roommates. I'm just saying,
so
if I was
deceptive,
a
you're
woman,
saying you can't make it in America in these jobs.
No,
you can't.
I said, here's what my experience was.
And lots of other people say life for the middle class is awful.
Middle class people are struggling. They're hanging on.
I think the middle class is disappearing, and that's a shame.
It's over for the middle class, I'm told.
The data tell a different story. From 1950 to 2007, the middle class family income went in real dollars, adjusted for inflation, went from $29,000 a year to $75,000 a year. They're making 3 times as much.
You can see it in recreation areas around America. In California's sand dunes, these people zip around on toys that cost thousands.
I probably got over $100,000 tied up between everything.
And most have motorhomes to tow all their toys.
This is a Yamaha Wave Z450.
Nelson Juarez comes here with his wife and 3 kids. All have their own bikes.
The big bikes are $7,000 a piece. The little ones, $2,000. I got about $50,000 in it. And every time I come out, I spend at least $1,000.
Wow, Nelson must be a big-time CEO.
I work for Valero Refinery. I'm an operator.
These friends spend $150,000 on their custom ATV. They must be tycoons.
I'm a landscape contractor.
His friend's company sells tools.
CNC machine tools to the metalworking industry.
Middle-class people today live like rich people lived in the 1950s.
10 million Americans take cruises every year. 13 million own boats. Most aren't tycoons. At this lake, Reason TV asked boat owners, what do you do for a living?
Wholesale building materials.
I'm a gardener.
We've always said, yeah, but in the old days, things were better. They said that in the 1920s, they said that in the 1950s, and we say it again today. It's not that we have less money, it's that our expectations have risen.
And lately, fear has risen as the economy's fallen.
I definitely could not have swung this year, the way the economy is.
But economies do recover. As Warren Buffett recently said,
your kids will live better than mine, your grandchildren will live better than your kids. There's no question about that.
And Nelson Juarez is convinced that America's the land of opportunity. He grew up poor.
I started working in the refinery at 18, and I was able to learn different trades.
Now he has a house, a pool, and on weekends, they spend thousands of dollars doing this.
I just work a little harder, make a little extra money, and we come out and play.
We have a society that rewards hard work and merit. Half of the poor actually are not poor 10 years later. Nobody is stuck where they start.
Were you stuck in traffic recently? Don't worry, the government says it'll spend billions to build new roads and fix old ones. And they say they'll do it efficiently. I say, bull.
Some people call their commute driving into hell.
Traffic is horrible.
Joseph Wu of Atlanta told us he has the most miserable commute in America.
Every morning.
Atlanta is America's second most congested city, says the Texas Transportation Institute.
You plan your day around traffic because you never know if there's going to be traffic or not. You have to leave an hour and 15 minutes in advance. This is why I don't drink coffee. You know, if I drank coffee, my heart would probably explode.
Comedian and game show host Drew Carey went on this radio station to search for the person with the most miserable commute in his town, Los Angeles, the most congested city in America.
Traffic goes all the way back in each direction, blocks and blocks. There's no end in sight to it. And, like a lot of places in America, it's only going to get worse.
We teamed up with Carey because he and Reason TV are doing TV programs online about big government bull. They're searching for new ways to get things done. Things like improving our daily commute. Kerry and the radio station eventually decided that Los Angeles' most frustrated commuter is graphic artist Josh Lipking.
Do this every morning. Check out SigAlert, Google traffic.
Every day, he kisses his wife goodbye.
Love you, girl.
Love you too. Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
And drives into hell.
Heart pumping in your chest. Start to sweat a little.
Josh tries to put the time he spends in traffic to good use.
One-hand flosser.
He lives only 16 miles from work, but the drive often takes him an hour and a half. What if his commute and yours didn't have to be this bad? What if someone wanted to add some lanes to this road or build us an entirely new road?
You wouldn't have as many potholes. It'd be done cheaper.
Wouldn't that be a good thing? And it's happening. Private road builders are doing it. They built this double-decker underground highway in Paris.
It will now take them 10 minutes for a journey that used to take 45 minutes.
350 cameras watch for traffic delays or accidents.
Any incident is detected in less than 10 seconds.
Once the camera detects a problem, they rush to tow the obstacle away, so traffic keeps moving. They do the same thing in California, too, at least on one highway.
One lane block, I'll be in Rough East down to a Plaza.
Here, instead of building a brand new road, they added 2 lanes in the middle of Highway 91. Drivers can choose to use them or not. If you want to go this fast, you have to pay. Different amounts depending on the time of day. Sometimes $1.50, sometimes $9. But by paying, you save time. Traffic moves, and for some people, time is money. Were these traffic speeding innovations created by government? No. Again, they were created and paid for by private road builders. Their success made politicians from other states want to try leasing roads. Mayor Daley did it with the Chicago Skyway. Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels leased the Indiana Toll Road to a private company. He got back billions for taxpayers.
We received $4 billion free and clear, no taxes, no debt left to our kids.
Sounds like a good idea to me. Please improve my commute and let someone else pay to maintain this road.
But most people can't even imagine the idea of leasing out one of their roads to a private company.
I don't need to pay tolls so that a corporation can make a profit.
When Florida considered leasing one of their roads, protesters complained, so politicians shelved the idea.
There is no need for a public-private partnership.
The governor of New Jersey gave up too, and a private highway idea is dying in Pennsylvania and dead in Texas. Now, billions in stimulus spending is supposed to fix up decrepit and overly congested roads. But why is Washington rushing in to do something that private companies do better and pay for the privilege?
Privatizing existing taxpayer infrastructure is not a solution for anybody.
Congressman Peter DeFazio is one of many who opposes leasing public roads to private companies. He says what Governor Daniels did is wrong.
He made money for the taxpayer. What's
No,
wrong
he didn't.
with that?
Money that the people of Indiana could have had in the future is going to go to a private company.
What money? The toll road was losing money.
If you couldn't make money running the toll road, how can this private company do it?
Your first insurance that they're going to run a better road than the politicians did is if they don't, people won't drive on it and they'll lose a lot of money. They have every incentive to make traffic flow swiftly, to make that drive as pleasant and safe as possible.
Private owners have an incentive to maintain the road. Government bureaucracies have let the highway system decay.
No, if you have toll roads, the toll authority, if properly run, can meet all of those requirements.
But do they?
Still have, I can't account for the crummy government in Indiana or Pennsylvania, but they could run them better. They could run them just as well as the private sector, because the private sector runs it well and makes a profit.
Exactly my point, says Governor Daniels.
Frankly, when government runs things, it's a monopoly, and it has no competition, and there's no upside to doing a lot better job. That's why we didn't have, until this new situation, electronic tolling. People were still stopping, chucking nickels and quarters into baskets. Politicians never run things well.
And sometimes they're really bad at doing things. Government road building has created some of the biggest boondoggles of all time. The Big Dig in Boston took 10 years to complete and cost more than twice as much as it was supposed to. And the government contractor's work was so sloppy, part of it collapsed, killing a woman. So why do so many people instinctively just say, you can't sell the public highways?
There are people, frankly, in Congress who can't abide the thought that You might be able to pay for something without going down there and kissing their ring for the money.
You only think the government has to run the freeways because you've never thought of the government not running the freeways.
But aside from those few exceptions, private roads are mostly dead because protesters and some politicians don't like them.
Get ready to stay in traffic hell, though Drew Carey won't have to.
It's okay, though, because I have a helicopter. I'm Drew Carey, and I'm out of here in a helicopter.
If you could wave a magic wand and make yourself smarter or beautiful or famous, which one would you pick? You may be surprised how many people picked fame over everything else.
This winter, that's right, this is Times Square on a cold December morning. All these people volunteered to strip down to bathing suits and get spray painted blue, red, green, and yellow to look supposedly like M&M's. It was a promotion for the candy company.
Why would you want to be in Times Square in your underwear?
It's exciting!
What about all these people looking at you dressed this way?
So let them
Get some attention, come on!
Attention is good, but I think that attention is good, and nobody can deny it.
Everybody wants to show who they are. Me, I want to be me.
You're not you, you're at M&M.
You're here to cover us, so obviously we're important. It's better than going to a shrink, you know?
Maybe these M&Ms should be going to shrinks. Or maybe these people should. They started lining up early in the morning to try out for a part in the real world.
Start getting real.
An MTV reality show where 7 young people lived together for months, fighting,
yes or no,
showering, ironing, and more, with numerous cameras watching constantly. Why would they wait in line for hours for a chance to be seen doing things like this?
I would love to be famous. I would love the attention.
Fame is really important. That's actually my whole life dream.
It used to be enough that you got attention from your parents, you got attention from your teachers, your peers, and that sort of thing, but that is no longer enough. We want attention from the worldwide media. Again, more name recognition.
Lee Hallisey teaches a course in TV and popular culture.
I spend a lot of time in my classes talking about Paris Hilton because I'm so intrigued by her. You know, in some ways she should be applauded because she's completely mastered the art of having the media focus all their attention on her without ever having to have done anything. So let's watch a few minutes of A Simple Life, and then we'll discuss.
Students get college credit for this.
Do you love them? They're farm material.
Maybe then they'll be qualified to work for a magazine like Us Weekly, which celebrates fame.
The Hollywood Reporter is out with its annual list of which actresses are up and down.
You don't even have to be so talented to be famous. You just have to be outrageous, well-dressed, gorgeous, date the right person.
And why do people want to read about that?
Americans are lonelier than they have been in the past.
Jake Halpern, the author of the new book Fame Junkies, theorizes that these magazines are so popular because people are lonely. He points out that today more young people tend to marry later in life, and more can afford their own living spaces, so they spend more time alone.
So we got all these young people that are living alone, often working alone in their cubicle on their internet, and there's all these imaginary friends floating out there, Brad and Jen and Angelina and Tom and Katie and Paris, and we feel as if we know them. They somehow make us feel comforted, less lonely. In that way, I think it takes the bite out of our loneliness.
Scientists see something similar in monkeys. At Duke University, researchers offered primates like these a choice between their favorite cherry juice and just looking at pictures of what you might call a celebrity monkey, the leader of the pack.
The smaller, weaker, subordinate monkeys actually gave up food to look at pictures of the big, dominant, celebrity-like monkeys.
Anthropologist Helen Fisher.
In hunting and gathering societies, they always have something called the big men. And big men are ones who are either more charismatic, they're better hunters, they've got more power. The people around them want to be near them because they figure they will get some of that power too.
Okay, I have some fame. It has nice parts. I can understand why people want to be famous, but why would they want to look at celebrities?
When we take a look at celebrities, and when monkeys take a look at the dominant animal...
I mean, she looked better when she had, cheeks.
They see where they are in the pack, they see how to behave, and they probably feel a sense of community.
And it's natural, she says, to want fame.
Because fame brings you money. Fame brings you reproductive opportunities. I mean, famous men get more women. Famous women get more men.
So this is just built into us from thousands of years of evolution?
Well, I would even say millions of years.
Which helps explain why one survey for Fame Junkies found that many kids said they'd rather be an assistant to a celebrity than a senator or a CEO.
The assistant of a celebrity gets the pickings that the celebrity doesn't want. I mean, all kinds of women pile around a male movie star. And if you're in the wings, there's going to be extra men who might look at you and give you what you need to survive in life.
Welcome to becoming a celebrity personal assistant.
There are actually courses that teach that. They set this one up for us so we could learn what the real assistants teach. Some said their job was...
It's like a daytime spouse.
Not only are you like their daytime spouse, sometimes you unfortunately have to be, a nanny for adults. You have to be their mom. You have to be their chef.
Most wouldn't tell us which stars they work for, but they said the job is great.
I get to talk to all kinds of other celebrities, and they know who I am. So it's kind of like, it's so cool.
The students were eager to get to work.
I would love to work for Sarah Jessica Parker. Call me.
I was with JonBenet when she died.
The drive for fame is so strong, it even drives some people to confess to crimes they did not commit.
John Mark Carr seemingly waiving all his legal rights to silence and confessing that he killed JonBenet Ramsey.
Carr's false confession was not unusual. It happens all the time when the famous are involved. Hundreds of people claim they killed O.J. Simpson's wife. And years ago, when Charles Lindbergh's baby was kidnapped, within months, 200 people had confessed to the crime. Saul Cassin's a criminologist at John Jay College.
Some people have a pathological need for fame or attention or recognition. In some cases, the level of mental illness is such that these people might actually believe they may have committed this crime.
The TV and popular culture professor says she's not surprised that people make false confessions because so many people believe the benefits of being famous, no matter what it's for, are worth it.
The average person on the street, if you ask them who cured polio, very likely you're going to get a lot of blank stares. If you ask somebody who Nicole Richie's best friend was, I think that you'll get an answer from a lot more people. And I think that tells us a lot about who we are as a culture and what we value.
Who cured polio?
So we asked her students to survey these people and dozens more on the streets of Boston.
It was a man, wasn't it?
God, yeah, I do. I can't remember her name.
Some guy named Polio.
Now, some older people did know about Jonas Salk and didn't know who Nicole Richie's best friend was.
I don't even know who Nicole Richie is.
But overall, 5-1, it was the other way.
Do you know who cured polio?
No.
Well, do you know who Nicole Richie's best friend was?
Paris Hilton.
Yep.
And that's how it goes in America today.
Paris Hilton.
Paris Hilton.
Maybe that's why some people seem willing to do almost anything for fame.
If you're famous, people listen to you.
Aren't you embarrassed?
No.
What if they said do it naked? Would you have done that?
Yeah.